Hey everyone, it's Anya with the Season of Anya, and welcome back to my channel where we discuss all things yoga, magic, and witchcraft with a little sprinkle of a healing journey along the way. Today I am so excited to have one of my amazing moon sisters, Lilith, with me on camera.
Hello all.
We are going to dive into a topic that is not often talked about. It is how to mourn the living and the dead with a little tinge of a cord cutting ritual. So I will try, because this is probably going to be a 30-minute plus video, I'll try to segment it, depends where it goes, but I'll try to segment it so you guys can follow along, because her and I are doing this video because we have very unique perspectives that we'd like to share with you all. So if you like this content, please just drop a comment. If you want to see more of this, or if you have any feedback or thoughts or just anything to share. I'm not really going to self-promote through the video, but if you like this content, let me know. Give it a thumbs up and drop a comment. Thank you so much for subscribing. And we're going to open with this really beautiful quote that Lilith has, and we'll jump right into it.
So in our own experience, we talk about there are coincidences and there are coinkydinks. So when we had started to talk about wanting to have this discussion, literally the next day on a random social media page, I saw this quote, and it was, not only did it just resonate with me personally, but it was spot on for this kind of a conversation. So it was really powerful, and I wanted to share it with you all. You can remove someone from your life and still truly want the best for them. Just because there's distance or detachment doesn't mean that hate has to fill that space.
And I think in a nutshell, thank you for that beautiful quote, because she shared this with me days prior, and it was just like, yep, that is
perfect.
That's the vibe we're going for. But mourning the living is so incredibly, it's so incredibly complicated, and I don't think we talk about it enough.
No, I mean, we really talk just as humanity about grief and mourning those who have passed from this plane, who have made that transition into death. But we don't talk about mourning those who are still alive. And a lot of that has to, sometimes it's out of our control that happens. Yeah. But other times it comes down to boundaries too. Oh, yeah. And, for your own well-being. And it's heartbreaking. It can be very, very difficult, as if somebody has died. And you do mourn, you do go through grief, in that kind of a transition. And I agree. I don't think that's really talked about. And honestly, I don't think many people contemplate it that way. So if this is kind of a new way of spinning that can help, you understand yourself, understand your emotions, your experiences. That's why we think it's important to talk about that. A lot of people talk about the dead and how we move on, but we don't talk about losing someone who is still alive.
I think what's really hard about that too is everyone's got different traumas, different ties, different things they're dealing with. But here's the thing that with mourning the living, you can't just put them in a box like you do with the dead
and hide it. You can't hide it
in
a closet.
You can't. It is still ongoing. It is a burden we carry, and it's hard, and it sucks, and it's painful. And thankfully, with my practice as a witch and learning empowerment and learning how to connect with my soul in its essence, that I have been able to learn that sometimes it is what it is. But if I don't like the person I am when I'm around you, I don't like how our interactions make me feel, something's got to give. And it's
at the end of the day, and this is really hard for a lot of us, especially those of us who have gone through trauma. It's really hard to look out for ourselves sometimes.
Oof.
And it comes down to what is healthy for me? What can I do to help myself be in a better state of mind, in a better state of peace? Sometimes it is something we just have to change about ourselves, but other times there is some dynamic, some sort of relationship in our lives, that does not serve us. And we need to learn how to let go of that does not serve us.
Well, and I think a lot of the things with spiritual healing, especially, because this is definitely mourning the living is a huge topic and a huge part, at least of my spiritual healing, because essentially mourning the living is saying goodbye.
Right. And I think also another reason that it's not a lot more difficult, it's different than mourning the dead, because we know that eventually everybody will die. So whether it's an expected or unexpected, that's still a normal part of the cycle of life. We don't expect necessarily that we will have to cut ties with someone who is still here. We, in the back of our minds, know that someday you're going to have to say goodbye because somebody passes away. But you don't necessarily prepare yourself that this person is still here on this earth, but we need to part.
God, I feel that I feel that so deeply in my heart. And here's the thing, I don't know about you, but with that severance and with I am mourning this living person. I am mourning the living. I am mourning someone very close to me. I have basically said, I can't. And having to accept that is hard, because I don't know about you, but at least in me, it's like I feel like I am giving up on them.
Right.
But my soul, my heart of hearts knows that I can't exist like this anymore. I feel bad more than I feel good in this dynamic, and that's hard.
And I think when you come from a place of you feel that you're doing this to somebody, you are putting their possible reaction or emotional state above your own well-being. And I think that takes a very significant shift in your mindset to really, and that's also part of setting a boundary of, yes, I don't want to hurt this person, but if I am hurt by maintaining this, that's not healthy for me. I need to care for myself first and foremost, of course, not in any kind of selfish way. We cannot pour into anybody else if our cup is empty. You have to come from a place that you are at peace and that you are your own whole self. And of course, I digress, that's a whole process in of itself.
Sure.
But
if
there is something outside of you that blocks that, it's time to reassess.
I think the way you put that just now is actually really thought-provoking, because if you are embarking on a healing journey, this isn't something that you necessarily, it depends, we all have different levels, different peaks, different lows, different experiences, but this isn't necessarily something, you may think like, I'm doing great, I did all the work, and then this comes out of nowhere. That's okay.
I think we do have to kind of treat it as if sometimes it is a death in a way. So you may not see it, but it's one of those things that you have to acknowledge that grief and mourning, whether somebody's still alive or not, is not linear. And it's not going to be the same as anybody else's. And if you have to make these boundaries or cut these ties with multiple people, it's not going to be the same every time. Every situation, every person is different. We ourselves are different people at different times in our lives, different seasons. Yeah. And so it is not going to be one size fits all. And that can be really frustrating because, you know, we may feel a sense of a loss of control, you know, with things being different every time. And that's another little soul searching place, but it's not linear. There's no one certain way. It's, you have to ride the storm, basically, while also giving yourself grace.
Well, and sometimes too, with that whole concept of mourning the living, I at least for me on my healing journey, because I couldn't be true to myself. I couldn't honor myself, my highest self, my purity, for lack of a way of putting it, you know, my purity, for
the pure essence of your soul or your spirit.
Yes. Yeah. I couldn't honor my soul because, I mean, a lot of times it could be either way. And I'm going to speak from my personal experience, and then we're going to hear Lilith's story. But for me, it was hard because this last year, talk about mourning the living, I mourned everything. And I did. I mean, it started with a divorce, so already mourning that relationship and finding a way to say goodbye to that, trying to find the good, which I know this doesn't apply to everyone, but sometimes, depending on the relationship, it's okay to lean into the good and the good times.
And that's the thing to mourn, is the good.
Yes.
You know, it's, I'll go more into it at another point, but my parents were long divorced before my father passed, but my mom still mourned when he died because she mourned the person that she first fell in love with, that she first married. She still had to mourn that, and it was a really great thing in that time. At the end, it may not have been, but that doesn't mean that there weren't really wonderful things about that person, about your relationship. And I mean, this goes for any kind of a relationship, family, significant others, friendships, even, you know, professional partnerships, you know, so
honestly, a dream that didn't quite come to fruition.
Right, exactly. You know, something that was really important to you, but it's just time to let it go. That's grieving too. And so I think that's part of giving yourself grace. Is even if you set a boundary and say goodbye, it does not mean that there was nothing good necessarily. And it's okay to feel good about what was good and what was healthy.
I think that's going into with like polarity in life. Nothing is black and white. This is all situational, but even for me, right? It's like, obviously when you make the choice to sever any kind of relationship, in one of my instances, it was my marriage. I had to, I couldn't compartmentalize it because there are so many layers to it. And this could take a year and a day of just sitting with, I'm going to mourn my mother, my father, my neighbor, my estranged aunt now, you know, my husband, my ex-husband, whatever it is, because there are layers to dynamics. In the instance, just putting it out there, in my instance of mourning a marriage, wow, talk about complexities. And it's kind of, and I think you're really going to resonate with this too, is when you're mourning, finding that balance of what to mourn, how to mourn it, and to a degree, maybe in your case, maybe not, but mourning the person you were in that
you
dynamic?
Personally were,
yes, and like
in a way,
like I'm not that person anymore, you know, because with any relationship, it is a dynamic. It is a give and take or whatever, and it's some type of energy exchange, and it's like, you know, it's mourning the fact that, man, I shouldn't have leaned into the energy I did, perhaps, how I did it. Or it could be
just how could I do it differently? instead of it being a, hardcore do it or not. It could just be, how did this approach, maybe could it have shifted?
That is perfectly put. I mean, especially, in my instance, it's kind of like, with my healing journey, it has been a continuum, especially in self-reflection, but also in moving forward, of basically the way I approach things is every interaction with somebody, we are at a crossroads, right? What energy do you want to lean into? And sometimes that crossroads is a giant crossroads, right?
And it's a bigger decision than some, and
And sometimes it can be as simple as, I don't know, maybe that was a little, I said that was kind of rude of me. Should I apologize? Something as simple as that can impact your healing and impact your mindset. And it's okay to say, goodbye to that person and who you were.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that actually is probably a good topic in of itself for another video of we all have seasons, we all have different facets of ourselves, and they can be perfect for some time, for a season, and then just not. And you either, the circumstances change, you change and grow, and it is hard to, there are some times where you have to grieve a part of yourself, or more aptly, a season of yourself, because you're not actually losing any part of yourself, but it's a season of yourself. So I think that would be a good topic for another video. That's a good point.
Wow. Yeah, that is going to be a great topic. I think you and I will really be able to relate on that one. So if you do want that, okay, I did say a little shameless,
let us know. Truly, if that's something that you feel maybe that you want to explore, that you want a discussion about, tell us.
Yeah, please comment, because especially with these longer videos, it's my goal is not to just have a long video that no one watches.
Right.
I
really want you to get something from it.
Yeah, because, working with a coven of witches, these are the types of relationships, discussions that we have. And I think, at least for me, for a part of my journey, I didn't even realize the not intensity, the weight that these types of conversations had on my journey, on my healing, on my everything. So if you do like that, please let us know, and we will be back next month or so, and we'll do it, because that's what this is about. For me, so much of my witchcraft journey has been learning how to heal, and in a sense too, when we are mourning the living, it may be something, it is often a act of providing them an opportunity for healing too. Yeah. That distance allows them to self-reflect and allows them to shift, perhaps, not always.
And that's also, that I think reiterates the thought that even if you have to part ways, sometimes you don't truly, wish ill on them. You do want them to find their happiness. You want them to find health and prosperity. And sometimes we all need to go our own ways to find those things, to find our own self-care. And so you can wish them a good journey, because they deserve the happiness and the wellness that you do as well. And there are certain instances where that may not be the case, but other times it is.
And that actually got me thinking too, is that maybe it is a you thing too. Maybe you are not ready to have conversations that need to be had, because you see yourself constantly, continuously, over and over and over again, entering that dynamic of, damn, why did I lean into that BS? Why, I could have done better.
Why am I doing it again? There are a lot of people that, they'll have very similar interactions, very similar relationships over and over. And finally, at some point, hopefully you go, what am I missing? What do I need to listen to that I'm ignoring? Or that I just didn't hear the first time or the sixth time? You never know. And so I think that comes down to everybody needs to take time for themselves. And self-reflection can be such a huge gift and just really transform you.
Well, and I think too, with entering, whether it's a healing journey, I mean, I think life is a consistent healing journey. So yeah, it is a spiritual healing journey. Yeah. It is a healing journey, whether you're healing with witchcraft or whatever you're healing with. When you're trying to heal your soul, sometimes too, kind of back to what you were saying, is I just don't have the mental capacity to deal with X, Y, and Z when I'm just trying to figure out what's wrong with me. I mean, that's just
or
keeping
just
it
where
real.
do I need to adjust?
Yeah.
What do I need to look at more closely? What do I need to dedicate more time to that maybe I'm missing?
How can I be stronger as a person?
For myself.
For
myself is very powerful.
Yep. So I can show up or I can address difficult situations, because at the end of the day, it might not even, you might, just because you're mourning the living doesn't mean you're going to mourn them forever. Yeah. You might just mourn them, hey, I wish you're only mourning them for a few weeks, but if you are mourning them for a few years, God willing, you have the rest of your life to repair that relationship. But if you are so broken inside, when we are broken and lost, we have to fill our cups. We have to fill our cups, and it's not selfish.
No.
It's not, and that's something that has really taken me a very long time to come to terms with. It's not. Basically, with mourning the living, with cord cutting, which I will get into later, with that type of energy, it is all love, but it's also love for yourself and compassion, because if you can't grow and you just keep the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again. It's like you're wasting your energy and you're not going to be able to live. We can't live a fulfilled life when we are stuck in the chaos of whatever this dynamic is, or the unhealthy, the toxicity of this dynamic. It's about ending a toxic relationship and trying to overcome it and try again maybe next time.
Yeah, and I know with things that are emotionally difficult, I personally find that sometimes I have to find like a literal physical analogy so that, because my logic brain says, oh yeah, of course I get it. But thinking is different from feeling. So kind of the way that in the past, especially, whenever I needed it, I've had to remind myself, when you're on an airplane, they tell you need to put your mask on first before you put someone else's on. It's not just, oh, I'm looking out for me. It's if you're dead, you can't help anyone. If you aren't in a place of health, or, kind of a more of a wholeness isn't quite the right word, but if you're not in a good place with your own self, how healthy can it be for a dynamic relationship?
Absolutely. I mean, that's it. That's it with my spiritual healing journey. I mean, depending where you start. I mean, I started at rock bottom in terms of my relationship with myself. So if I'm living in this energy, I mean, I'm just going to be real, like of self-hatred, not able to take a compliment, and just so dead and empty inside, how am I going to give a damn about anyone else? And it's not, again, it's not selfish. We really want to put that in your heads, because if you can really understand that, if you are looking at yourself in a mirror, right, or wherever, but imagine you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're saying, yeah, I have to let this person go for me because I love me, and acknowledge the fact that it hurts.
Yeah,
you're doing it right. You're doing it right. You're doing it because of compassion for yourself and compassion for others.
And I think another thing to remind ourselves is sometimes it really is just goodbye for now, or I'll see you later. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily need to be an absolute forever thing. So, if you're really struggling with, I don't know how my whole life can go on without this, I think the way to at least start your mindset is goodbye for now. It does not have to be final. It can be, very fluid. It's just for now, right now, in this space and time, this is what's going to happen.
Absolutely. And when putting that intention out there, think of all the room you can make for better. Yeah. Period. Whether it is with that person, I am an optimist. I am a dreamer. It's hey, maybe we can rekindle what once was, obviously in a different dynamic, but again, it's about remembering the good. Yeah. I obviously loved this person or I wouldn't be mourning them. Yeah. And it's complicated, but as long as your heart is telling you and when you really feel it, don't let your, like Lilith said, don't let your logical brain get in the motions of your heart. Because I'm telling you, from my experience, if you start leading your life and taking risks, healthy risks, but risks, but
things that maybe you're scared of doing, but that you probably should.
Yes, emotional risks of vulnerability.
Yes, exactly.
Risks of the heart and your feelings in a nutshell. Once you start leaning into that, it's a whole new world. Yeah. It's a whole new world.
And so much of the time, there's no way to have anticipated, what it's going to become. And I truly feel that that's a beautiful part of the journey of just being a person. And when, you have your own flavor of spirituality as part of that just enhances it in my personal experience. It's so much fuller when you really allow that surrender.
And surrender is hard. Surrender is hard, but that's also why cord cutting comes into play, because it just is.
And it's another tool to help you. It can kind of be seen as like an assist. I'm having a really hard time doing this just by myself. Could I get a little extra, something to help along this way?
That's actually a really good point. And I'm just going to keep going off of that because that's what the essence of cord cutting is. That's why we do cord cutting spells. That's why we do cord cutting, because it's a ritual. Yeah. It's a ritual, and it's when as witches, as spiritualists, when we show up and set our intention at that altar or at that sacred space, whatever it is, whatever your sacred space looks like, but when we set that intention and make it a formality, hence the ritual, that's when we can really connect with that and just feel everything that comes with that. Yeah. So with that, do you have anything you would like to share about your journey, Lilith?
So I've had a somewhat unique, it's not that uncommon, kind of experience with grieving someone while they're still alive, and then having to then grieve them once they have actually died. It's a very complex thing. My dad was in and out of my life. I always knew, and he made it known, how much he loved me and my brother and how much he wanted to be there. But just because of circumstances in his life, he was not able to be the full potential that, he could have been, based on his own choices, based on circumstances. And so as, a little kid, he would say, give certain promises, and then it would fall through. And my heart just kept getting broken over and over and over again. And it really damaged my trust in really everybody. Even if I wasn't thinking of it in so many words, because I was elementary school, kind of age, it made me feel that, like, if I can't trust my parent, can I trust anyone to be there for me? So I, went through many years of that. And as I became older as a teenager and I started to be able to logically and emotionally more understand what was going on, I had to make the decision for myself to kind of have that, like, cut it off. I mean, I still would talk to my dad occasionally and I would see him when we were able to, but emotionally, I cut myself off because I couldn't go through the pain of being disappointed anymore. I couldn't go through the pain of loss. I had to just let it go for my own self because it was ruining so much of what my dad and I did have. And it really was hurting our relationship. And I mean, I don't want to say necessarily daddy's girl, but I had a very, very strong connection with my dad from, birth. Like, it was a very strong connection. And so I think that added a lot more emotion to it, and kind of spiritual attachment between the two of us. And, our personalities are so very similar. And, a lot of these things are things that I could only contemplate and realize as I got older. But, I think, I had to really guard myself for a while. And I do feel very fortunate that after I experienced some really tough things that my dad had experienced, it did give me a bit of understanding of, okay, I kind of get why XYZ happened.
Yeah.
But because I have now just experienced this, I have learned that even if this is the explanation, you still have a choice. You have a choice on how you act, how you, think about things. And that's where I chose to go about it differently, because I saw how much destruction it had caused to my dad's well-being, to all of his relationships, whether it was family, romantic, his friendships, work, professional relationships. The hardships that were out of his control were the explanation, but he had to make good choices, and sometimes he did not. I was fortunate enough that as an adult, I did get some time to reconcile with him, and I will always be grateful for that. But that was only probably 3 years that I had when he and I were on a more healthy basis. And then unfortunately he did die very unexpectedly, very traumatically. And just this next week, it'll be 7 years, which I can't believe. It's insane. And it's definitely a constant healing journey for me. I am still very much mourning. But, when I made the decision when I was younger to kind of guard myself, I did have to really grieve that. Part of me felt like I was giving up on him, felt like I was abandoning him. But, there were certain circumstances that I said, you didn't choose this, and that's why that happened. You can't blame yourself for whatever those circumstances were. And you need to, you can't just be constantly heartbroken. That's not healthy. It's not fair. And sometimes, when that happens in a relationship with anybody, you have to make a decision about, this isn't good for me. What am I going to do about it? Or am I going to do anything at all? So it can be really complicated. And I think it was made even more complicated when he actually did die. I very much mourned, not so much what we had, I mourned what could have been.
Ugh.
All of the milestones that we wouldn't have together. and I'm still healing. And that's, I think, there's no timeline to any kind of grief, whether or any kind of mourning, no matter the circumstance. There is no timeline. It is not linear. Some days will definitely be better than others. And other days, you will question, can I even do this? I don't know if I can do this. And in those moments, sometimes you literally have to take it one day at a time, sometimes 1 hour at a time. For me personally, around those really, really difficult moments, a phrase that helped me was, this too shall pass.
That's a great one. Even
if I didn't feel that, I had to just keep telling myself until it proved me right, that it did pass.
Listen.
It's kind of like a fake it till you make it, but in a little bit healthier way. Sometimes you just have to surrender it and trust that it will turn out.
Yes.
So it's a very, very complicated thing, especially when it's a person that is so significant to your life, so important to you. That's a really, really tough road. But in the end, you have to look out for your well-being. You really do. And it will be painful. I'm not even going to say it can be. It will be painful. And you need to allow yourself to grieve. You need to allow yourself space to mourn.
You do.
And with that, you will come out the other side. It may not feel like it anytime soon. Maybe it'll be short-lived. Maybe it'll take a long time on your own timeline. So it's one of those things that you need to allow yourself to feel it, though.
Gosh, I have so many thoughts on everything you just said. I mean, Lilith she's got spirit in the head, and that's why, again, I'm so stoked to have her on this channel. If you like Lilith, drop a comment, but for real, give her a little love, because she's just coming to my house and she's so passionate about what we have to say that she's dedicating, an hour or whatever to this.
Well, and I mean, it truly has been something so significant in my own life, and has been so impactful. It's been painful and healing. And I just am the type of person that if I can impart some kind of wisdom, some sort of knowledge that can prevent somebody else from hurting more than it needs to, that's important to me. And I was so thankful when you asked me, do you want to discuss this? Because it's very important to me. And I think everybody needs to at least listen to that kind of a conversation.
Yes. This happens more often.
Have those conversations among yourselves.
Yes.
I think that's very, very important.
So, yes. With that said, oh my goodness.
I know, sorry, I set you up for a lot.
I know, I'm just like, but I'll narrow it down to one thing that I do want to hone in on and really establish on you. Actually, I lied, 2 things, because they're just too good.
Do it.
But when you're living in a constant grief, whether they are alive, I mean, especially I think when they're alive, it is a constant. At least when they're dead, then it's okay. You mourn the dead. But when you are saying phrases like "this too shall pass," I am telling you, if you keep saying it, if you keep going, it's not going to feel like Lilith.
It won't feel that way for some time. Trust me. Like, sometimes it will not feel like it's going to be okay.
And let me tell you,
just got to ride it.
You got to ride it. And when you have those moments of, wow, it's been a day since I've held on, since I've thought about so-and-so, this too shall pass. Reaffirm that. Use that mantra, that affirmation to reaffirm the fact that, this too shall pass, because that's how we get into the psyche. That's how we get into mind. And further, I would, look, mourning the living freaking blows, dude.
Yeah.
It blows. Because, I mean, in Lilith's case, like, I have living that I'm mourning right now. I am going into it with a mindset that everything will be better, and we'll have our moment, and we're gonna heal. We're gonna do this together. Everything's gonna be okay. But she brings an excellent point. And sometimes it just ends. And I can't imagine how hard of a pill that is to swallow and come to terms with.
Yeah. And I mean, my brother also had the same kind of, cutoff with our father while he was still alive. And unfortunately, my brother didn't get the opportunity to then maybe reconcile. He just had to mourn. And then when our dad finally did physically die and truly left this plane, it was a very mixed thing. My brother and I had very, very different experiences. I took it way harder, but I truly think that's because I got to rebuild that emotional relationship, and my brother did not get that opportunity. And so, but it enough time had passed for him that he said, yeah, I'm sad, but also, I kind of have prepared my heart already.
Yeah.
So
it's two sides of the coin on that one, because, in her case, it's like, even though it is a very similar dynamic, father-daughter, father-son, but, it's like in a sense, Lilith went through, okay, maybe this is improving, and then no, it's finite, versus he had already made peace with the fact.
He had made peace with it, and, I had for a while too, but then when things started to improve, it's not that I got my hopes up. It was just, things are finally going okay. Yeah. And then bam, it was done. And, there are a lot of big emotions that come with that. I still deal with grief. I still deal with anger, a lot of anger. And that's been a shadow part of myself that I have to work with. To come to terms with, and it's everybody's experience is going to be so different, and you need to allow yourself that journey.
Absolutely. So unless you have anything else you want to say, we're gonna just walk you through a very basic cord cutting ritual, because with the complexity of emotions, with all of this, for your own sake, for your own compassion, your own self-compassion, it's okay to walk away. Whether it's for now, even if you have to say, hey, I will see you again in the astral realm, in the heavens, or whatever you believe in. Allow yourself the space to not have to be in a constant state of mourning, and allow yourself the grace and space and all the things to just say, I did what I could. This is on them, or just is.
Yeah.
Let me grab my cord cutting ritual. What I'll probably do, just because I'm not really, sometimes I like to cross-link like my blog posts and stuff. This is just better for video format, but I'll link in the description a PDF. If you want this written out, you just click the link and it's free. It'll send you right there. But, this is such a simple cord cutting ritual, but I just try it, and you might have to do it a couple times if you are new to witchcraft, especially, and new to this concept. But this is the kind of energy we want to bring to the table, and you don't have to follow this.
No, it's another tool in your toolbox.
Yeah, take it if it resonates. Yeah.
Think about it that way.
Take it if it resonates. So basically, in line everything we're talking about today, this is a cord cutting ritual for unconditional healing. Interestingly enough, if you can, the way it turned out with us today in our conversation, it is a waning moon, which actually is a great energy, because we are finishing the cycle and the new cycle hasn't started yet. So if you would like to pre-plan, this moon magic is going to be great for the waning moon.
Because it's all about release.
Yes. And it's that final, like kind of, I don't know, scraping the residual.
Last little bit, and then we're going to say goodbye. And then the new cycle will start.
Yes, and the new cycle cannot start until we officially say goodbye. So with that, yes, this is best on the waning moon. All you're really going to need, the candle, some water, or like a bowl of water, either, you know, an essential oil.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, you can do an essential oil
Mhm.
mixture just to help cleanse yourself.
Yeah.
I love using Florida water as well as Lilith.
Yeah.
I would recommend something of water essence, because what's going to happen, like even me bringing up all these emotions, it's nice to have something cleansing and wet to cool you down, because a lot of emotions may arise for this. Other than that, if you have access, access to a bonfire so you can burn. If not, a cauldron will work. Just light it.
I mean, heck, a bowl with salt in it will do you good too.
There you go. See, little witch tip for you. Paper or a bay leaf. Whatever you have. I use Post-it notes all the time. I don't know.
Yeah.
I love Post-it note.
We are 21st century witches. You use what you got.
Post-it note magic.
Use what you got.
Amen. Other than that, like a pen, obviously, to write with. And then personally, Palo Santo, I would love for connecting really with that spiritual higher realm. And I think this is a good energy to bring. Use what you got.
Yeah.
And
use what resonates with you.
Yeah.
For cleansing.
Yeah. This is just our recommendations. So simply put it, after you get all your ingredients aside, it's really just take the time to ground and cleanse your space with Palo Santo. Light it up. And I like to take kind of like 3 mindful breaths and work in a spiral around my head, you know, if you want to sage your whole body. But take the time to connect. Allow the essence of that Palo Santo to bring you up, you know, to the astral, but also bring you down that where we are here in this body. All you're going to do after that, light a candle. You're going to write their name on either a piece of paper or a bay leaf. I do like bay leaf because of the smell, but whatever you got. And all you're going to say as you write their name on the paper, stare into the candle, into the flame so you can unwind. I wish your heart, I wish your soul unconditional healing. I sever this bond with my heart of hearts. Goodbye for now, blank, their name, with love and light. If you need to repeat this 3 times, 9 times, typically in 3s work best for whatever reason. It's just the witchy, the juju's always there. But if you need to say it a few times and try to, that way you can be present and connect with that energy, do it. Seriously. There's no right or wrong way. It's how you feel. But when the time is right, when you're done and when you feel that intention has truly been set, and only then you will burn that paper or burn that bay leaf and essentially cool down with your cleansing water to kind of get all that ick off you. And that's the ritual.
You know, that would be a really good time too of sometimes there are still little bits of things that we need to say to these people too. Get it out. Say it out.
Yes.
Get it out of you.
Yes.
Say what you feel you need to say, that you want to say, you know, to express whatever emotion that you're feeling.
Yep.
And then, you know, burn it up. You've given it up. It is now outside of you, and you get to move forward with that. But, you know, it's with everything we say, how does it feel to you? There's no right way. But, you know, that's such a perfect guideline, starting place of, hey, that might be all you need. But if you have other things that you need to get out, do it.
And with that, look, some people are monsters in life, but typically when we're born, I don't know. Well, I don't want to say that. No, yes, people are monsters in life. That's not my point.
People can do very awful things.
But also good people can do bad things. Bad people can do good things. So if possible, and this is circumstantial because there are just horrible people point blank out there, or people who do not deserve grace. But in balance, if you do need to release, like what Lilith was saying, and get it all out there, if you need to send some ick energy out too, that's fine.
This is a perfect opportunity to do it.
But if possible, and again, this is your relationship with that person, that is your soul connection with them. If possible, balance it out with light. End it on a good note. And that's a cord cutting ritual for you. So
I love it.
Yeah, so I really hope you enjoyed this video on how to mourn the living and this bonus cord cutting ritual. Again, it would mean the world to me if you could just comment, give this video a thumbs up, just tell us your thoughts. And again, if any of this resonates, let us know. If there's any topics you'd like us to explore, chances are we are in a coven of witches. Even if I can't relate to it, I am sure
somebody else probably has an answer.
Yes.
Or a suggestion.
Yes, and together we are able to learn, because as my mantra goes, you know, heal yourself, heal other, heal the world.
Yeah.
So
very much.
Yeah. So with that, thank you so much for subscribing to the season of Anya. Thank you so much love and gratitude to you all on this healing journey. I will catch you on the next one.
Thank you for having me all.